You're live. Thank you. Good evening and welcome. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Bangor City Council. Today is Monday, March 25th, 2024. It is 7:30 p.m. We begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Betsy Lundy, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's the drawback to being in the room, I can pick on you. I'd like to start with a proclamation proclaiming April 1st through 5th, 2024 Community Development Week. Councilor Schaefer.
Thank you. This is the proclamation for Community Development Week. Whereas the week of April 1 through 5, 2024 has been designated as National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to bring awareness to the federally administered Community Development Block Grant Program and its impacts on small urban communities. Whereas the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program was established in 1974 to deliver annual funding to local communities and is a partnership of federal, state, and local government, as well as private sector, nonprofit, and community efforts. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program's primary objective is the development of viable urban communities by providing decent housing, suitable living environments, and expanded economic opportunities, principally for low and moderate income persons. And whereas the CDBG program is one of the few remaining federal programs available to address the needs of low and moderate income persons in small cities. And whereas the city of Bangor has benefited from nearly $47 million in CDBG funds since 1982 to support a variety of projects and programs for social and neighborhood services, housing, economic development, and improvements to community facilities and infrastructure. And whereas this recognition given on the 50th anniversary of the CDBG program and the city's 42nd year of participation shall reaffirm the significance and diversity of their local community development program efforts toward meeting the needs of persons of low and moderate income and improve the neighborhoods in which they live. Therefore, I, Gretchen, on behalf of Mayor of the City of Bangor, Cara Pelletier, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 1st through April 5th, 2024 Community Development Week in the City of Bangor, and give special thanks and recognition to all participants whose hard work and devotion to the neighborhoods and their residents help ensure the quality and effectiveness of the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say?
Go ahead. I said it right on here.
Thank you. This is the portion of the meeting set aside for public comment. Public comment, whether through Zoom or in person, requires you to state your name and whether you are a resident of Bangor. Any inappropriate or offensive remarks may be interrupted and removed. The council chair has discretion over the time allowed for comment. Tonight we will have 60 minutes for public comment. Due to the number of people in the room, each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes for comment and no more. So when the alarm goes off, you're done. I'd also like to ask if there are people in the room who do not live, work, or own property in Bangor. Please allow those who do live, work, and own property in Bangor to speak first. If you'd like to offer comment on any item that's not appearing on the regular agenda, please approach the podium. On the Zoom, the public may be recognized to speak by the hand raise function or on the phone by pressing *9.
Hi, councilors. Is this just for the Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Willie. I'm a former resident of Bangor, and I'm probably going to be a resident again in the future, and I do work in Bangor. I'm the new executive director of Needle Point Sanctuary, and I'm not sure how to, in 3 minutes, speak clearly to a project that for the last 5 years has dominated so much of my life and energy and that of my colleagues, but I will try my best. Needlepoint was born 5 years ago in Pickering Square. It was our response to a world we felt was uncaring, unjust, and unwilling to do what must be done in order to save lives in the midst of the opioid crisis, a crisis that continues to this day. In the 5 years we have existed, we have distributed tens of thousands of doses of naloxone. This naloxone has been used to reverse over 1,000 overdoses. We have provided wound care for hundreds of people, food for thousands, and care, comfort, and support to just as many. We have done this from downtown spaces. And we have done this as volunteers with little funding and often in face of great adversity. One of the counselors, Counselor Schaefer, I believe, you mentioned the need to have more good people doing good things in these public spaces. During the years we've done outreach, we've de-escalated countless people, provided hundreds of referrals, and helped dozens into detox, hospitals, and rehabs. There already are good people doing good things in these spaces, and we are among them. I'm glad I came early and attended today's workshop because it showed me that this council does support harm reduction, and I wasn't fully expecting that. And I understand that certain segments of our community do not support harm reduction. But the data tells a simple story. Syringe programs are safe, effective, and proven methods to reduce disease and overdose. They decrease syringe litter in places they are present. This is the factual reality, period, and I will never apologize and make excuses for it. Harm reduction works. What I do want to apologize for is some miscommunication that has arisen between myself and the city in regards to our certified locations. So after meeting with Debbie in December, I was under the impression that Pickering Square was off limits, but Pierce was okay. I reached out to Debbie again to see if we could do Pickering once a month, because it's a very sentimental space to us, and it's actually a very effective outreach spot, right? People don't come to these places because we're there. We go there because people are present within those spaces. And that's why they're very effective public health outreach locations. But anyway, I was under the impression that Pierce was okay.
Please wrap up.
All right, I got one more paragraph. So I wanted to apologize for the miscommunication on my end. I didn't mean to upset anyone. Since becoming certified, we haven't done outreach in Pickering, and if doing so will cause our relationship with the city and our community to suffer, we will move on from it, provided we can find suitable alternatives.
Thank you.
We are committed to working with the city, the
Sir,
CDC,
we
and
need
with
to move
community
on.
partners.
Thank you.
My name is Justin Cartier. I'm a resident of Essex Street in Bangor. I thank you for your comments today. I would like to commend Councilwoman Carolyn Fish for bringing up what she did earlier about allowing our officers to do their jobs without their hands being tied. We may pass out needles to try to stop overdoses, but I don't understand how giving an addict the equipment they need to do the drugs is helping save any lives. As an addict who put down his drug of choice 8 years ago, this is a very deeply touching subject for me. Now, I attend 12-step program meetings in the same building that they passed the needles out in, the Unitarian Universalist Church on Park Street. And at least once a week, I'm picking up not only needles, but the bags of needles from that program as they pass them out. There's even been situations we've had in the church where there was somebody who had gotten needles from that program doing drugs in the bathroom behind the meeting that we're having. I don't understand how they say they're helping anything other than fostering an atmosphere of addiction. Somebody's should be showing you pictures that we're allowing squatting on, I believe that's city property, or is it University of Maine Augusta property? So not only are we giving them equipment that they need to do their drugs, but we're giving them a place to live. Now the only thing we've got to do is fight to find their next fix. We're handing out food and everything else, but we're not helping them get the help they need. There's a 1,000-person waiting list to get on to the Acadia outpatient program. Where's the funding for that? Now, I heard that we have a grant writer coming in, and that's fantastic. I really respect the work that they'll be able to do and hopefully get some funding for programs like that. And to maybe get the city to have a homeless shelter of its own, because none of the homeless shelters in this city are city-run. Again, thank you.
Good evening, my name is Michael Norton, I'm an author, 83 Elm Street, Bangor, Maine. Parkinson's disease is a neurophysiological related disorder to many of the symptoms that these people are showing in these camps. And Parkinson's polymagnetism is on an order for the individual of 955 billion units of resonance going through their system, just trying to reach out to their care team for help so they can be cured. There is a cure because we know the resonance of the human blood is 1.062 trillion units of resonance, not very far from the Parkinson's polymagnetism. Willie made a good point. There's not enough communications, and I don't know your name, I'm sorry, I forgot. Justin made good point too. There's a lot of money too. And we just sat for 40 minutes to an hour and a half talking about homeless people with no money and drug users on the street. But I know there's money out there and there's a cure for Parkinson's, and Congress at Capitol Hill and Washington DC have taken action toward that end. But if we have a Bangor Information Stock Exchange, I think it'd help out with the rest of the stock exchanges on our planet, like a Bangor Intel Stock Exchange, or a BISE, B-I-S-E, it doesn't have to be huge, but it's an information business that we're trying to resolve here for individuals all throughout the community, all demographics. So, thanks.
Hi, my name's Kayla and I work in Bangor. I serve on the board of directors for Needle Point Sanctuary. Over the past 3 to 4 years, I have been involved in that organization both as a participant, as a volunteer, and now as a board member. Due to the level of connection and community that I've had within that organization, I've been able to find recovery and serve my community now as a recovery coach. Among the thousands of overdose deaths that our organization has helped to alleviate in our community, I can think of specifically of one individual that I just got to watch celebrate a year in abstinence-based recovery, who is a volunteer at the barn. These are our friends, our family, our loved ones, our community members that we've been watching die for a really long time. And in the midst of an HIV spike in the city of Bangor, I don't think this is the time to, I totally understand like the concerns that are happening, but this is like vital work that's being done. And it is by people that care, and I know everyone here does too. So I just think that we can probably talk about location sites and all of that, but our work is really important and it's being done by people that really care. So just wanted to say that, thank you.
May I ask a question?
No, sir, we're going to take public comment, so if you,
But you
no,
said in the
please sit
beginning,
down.
you said in the beginning that Bangor residents would speak first.
I said
I-
residents, people who work in Bangor, and people who own property in Bangor.
So people who work here are more important than the residents, is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying,
Well,
and I would like
what
you
you're
to,
inferring.
sir, you're out of order. I don't want to remove you from the room.
You may,
Please wait your turn if you'd like to approach the podium when.
no, I just like to hear the
Sir?
people from Bangor.
Thank you very much.
I forgot to mention I'm also a Bangor City resident.
My name is Stan McMillan, and I'm a contractor, semi-retired. And I'd like to thank the police department for helping me out on some issues on the page I sent you, because that is the law that the legislature passed. The property in question that I have on the board here, I'd like to help the city clean that up, because it's a disgraceful mess. And I would send equipment out, take care of the debris. It's got to be done after the snow leaves. Then seed it, mulch it, and make it look halfway presentable. But you're going to have to do that every 2 or 3 weeks because the people who live there don't respect the environment. And it's a very bad place to have a trailer park next to the University of Augusta. And I've sent some literature on a letter from the students, mothers and fathers out there. The city owns the land. They don't have a permit to put a trailer park in there, according to the code enforcement officers. But I will go through and keep that as neat as I can for the next summer. But eventually you've got to have to relocate them to a shelter of some sort because they can't live there. One young man said he's been there 4 years and he's still waiting for his voucher. So I'll work with Debbie and coordinate. The only thing that I can't do is move people's material, right, without invading their privacy. So I'd have to work with the city to accomplish this. So, but I have the equipment and the men to do it. I just don't want to get sued by anybody out there. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name's Colleen O'Neill. I'm a Bangor resident, and I'm also a candidate for House Seat District 22 here in Bangor. I would like to address the issue of homelessness, but first I'd like to thank the council for all your hard work and all the volunteer agencies and all the nonprofit agencies that have been working so hard to bring back the dignity of so many individuals. I spent the last 30 years in emergency management, and as a victim witness advocate, I'm keenly aware of the issues of homelessness. And as you know, homelessness is not all about drugs, alcohol, or mental illness. Many people here in this room or watching on Zoom possibly are just one paycheck away from being homeless themselves, so I get it. According to one report out there, there are 100 homeless in Bangor, but I suspect the number's a lot higher. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 20% of individuals experience homelessness reported to have a serious mental condition, and 16 reported substance abuse. Additionally, the stress of being homeless may be a catalyst for drug and alcohol abuse itself. As I stated earlier, there are many reasons for homelessness. However, the drug and alcohol issue seems to be what concerns citizens the most, so that's what I'm going to focus on. There's a saying in emergency management, if you're passing out your business card at a disaster, then you haven't done your job. Meaning everyone should know you and you should know everyone else. Here, in my opinion, lies the problem. There are numerous agencies caring for the homeless, from shelters to detox to needle distribution and so on. How often do these agencies meet? Can one agency call another and say, for instance, I have a person who needs detox but I don't have the funding. Can you supply the funding for me? Or I don't have a bed. Can you supply a bed? Can you supply transportation? And we can get that person over to you. How often do they collectively get together as a group and analyze trends to see where the gaps are? How often do they meet to determine how one agency can help another? People are afraid to go downtown, which hurts the local business. Dirty needles are found everywhere, and if that weren't the case, then there wouldn't be a full-time person whose sole job is to just pick up needles. I've spoken with residents who are considering moving from Bangor because they don't feel the city is listening to their concerns. Business owners in downtown Bangor are contemplating difficult decision of closing their facilities. One of the most beautiful tracts of land in Bangor is now a homeless camp and a dump site for everything imaginable, causing health and safety concerns. Nearly $10 million of ARPA funds have gone to agencies supporting the homeless in various ways. Now is not the time for those agencies to close hold and hold tight the information, and the assets. They are all working for a common goal, but they're not working together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tricia Quirk. I'm a resident at 208 French Street in Bangor. I have apartments around. You're going to listen to one of my tenants who had a terrorizing situation that happened to her just this weekend. And through this studying what's going on in our neighborhood, I found that we now have a needle exchange at 157 Park Street. Just found out now that we have a needle exchange at the Congregational Church right next door to Kelsey's house. I feel like we've seen the results of this. We've seen the people that are camped out on the wall next to Kelsey's apartment that just sit down like they're gonna open up their bag and have lunch, and they shoot up right outside of her window without the idea that they might have consequences to this. We see the person that has just shot up walking down the street and weaving in and out of traffic, just waiting to be hit by somebody driving down the street. I feel that we have done what we're doing now long enough. We need to find, a solution for this problem. This is, people are in need of help. We're not giving them help. We seem to be enabling this drug use where, we're not helping them find recovery, we're not helping them find a home, and we're not helping them find the ability to build confidence and be part of this community that's so important to me. But like I said, Kelsey is going to talk tonight, and also Rebecca, and that we're all right in the same neighborhood. Kelsey's back window overlooks Pierce Park, and Rebecca's business overlooks Pierce Park. So I'm going to leave it at that for this minute so that more people can have a chance to talk. But I hope that we're, at the cusp of trying to find a solution where we can, give people the confidence to find recovery and, and make this Bangor a safe place to live again, because right now it is not. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelsey Chandler. I'm a resident and I work in Bangor. I'll start by saying that I love Bangor. I've worked in downtown Bangor for 10 plus years, as well as my family and my friends. I chose to live in downtown Bangor to raise my children. I have a 2 and a 1-year-old, and I found my dream place in downtown. Since what seems like the pandemic, my dream place has slowly turned into a nightmare, and it gets worse as the weeks go on, it seems like. Tricia had mentioned I had kind of a terrorizing experience this past weekend where I called Bangor PD on a person who was going in front of traffic, as she said, almost got hit by numerous cars. I was concerned for their safety. The officer moved this person along, and throughout the rest of the day, the evening and the following day, him and probably 5 to 10 of his friends surrounded my apartment, yelling at me, cursing me out, throwing their stuff around our house. 911 was called, the police asked them to move along, and they came back later that night, as well as the next morning when me and my kids were trying to have breakfast. So my dream of downtown Bangor, bringing my kids to the bagel shop every morning and having a library card that I can walk them down to in a stroller and see my friends and family that work in downtown, is diminished. I no longer feel safe walking to my car in the middle of the day. This all happened at 9 a.m. on a work day. When the street is very busy, when the cafe up the road is very busy. These are all people that are having to interact with these people just going to the workplace or to the coffee shop or to the church next door. And I want to continue to have my family live in Bangor, and I want to live in Bangor. And this is my first time at one of these, so I'm thankful for people that are trying to make it better. So I'm taking the first step in trying to make a solution instead of complaining about the problem. And I hope that everyone can come together and make that happen so that we can all continue to enjoy Bangor.
My name is Becky Garcia, and I've been a downtown business owner for the last 5 years. I own Bangor Frameworks in Exchange Street, and I also own Paloma's Gifts in Harlow Street. I was convinced I would be just fine on Harlow Street, despite many people telling me differently. What could go wrong? I thought. I have been just 2 blocks from there for the last 5 years, and I have yet to encounter the problems that I have been dealing with at the gift shop. I have been operating Paloma's Gifts for only 8 months, and I am very disheartened to say that my dream shop is slowly becoming my nightmare. Up until now, in my entire life, never have I had to interact with the police. Yet, in the last few months, I have come to learn quite a few of the officers personally. Recently, one of my employees had been requested to buy heroin for the people that congregate at the library. Let me tell you, that's a very uncomfortable situation for my young girls working at the shop to have to deal with this. Also recently, I've been dealing with hundreds of dollars in theft from the gift shop. And on top of that, I've been dealing with the stress of getting texts from my employees working as they are asking for help. In this case, that's my signal that the police need to be contacted immediately. I have had to call the police several times before, as civilians were camping outside of our shop entrance. We have also had customers afraid to leave the shop as people under the influence gathered by my entrance, screaming, punching the door and the windows, and or fighting amongst themselves. We shouldn't be afraid to go to work, as all we want is to provide a beautiful place for our community. Yet, in return, customers are slowly disappearing due to the instability surrounding my shop. I had to shorten the hours of the gift shop because we fear to be at the shop after 5 p.m. when most of the businesses around are already closed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening, Chair Pelletier, honorable members of the Bangor City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts, values, and experience. I am Representative Imbreen Rana, and I serve the people of Bangor in the state legislature. Before I was a lawmaker, I was an advocate, and before that, I was a public health service provider right here in Bangor. For 3 years, I helped to operate a certified syringe exchange program in a brick and mortar setting. In that work, I learned that building relationship and trust is key to be able to provide those services to the most vulnerable people in our community. I also learned that entering into a clinical-like institutional setting to receive these services is not always ideal or accessible to all members of our community, especially those who are most at risk of harm, especially those who are unhoused and those who are weary to trust service providers due to harmful experiences in the past. There was a gap in the system, people were falling through the cracks, and that's why Needlepoint Sanctuary came about as a support to people here. The mobile services in Bangor have worked hard to create relationships with our unhoused community to get them life-saving care. They fostered relationships with people living in the encampments, something that takes so much time and care and has been a challenge for city officials and for other service providers thus far. Those relationships make us all more safe in Bangor. NPS has sponsored and headlined countless park cleanups over the past several years, which are the reason for fewer used syringes in our public parks and on the street, including when other providers in our town were not prioritizing syringe litter. Not to mention that exchange services in general themselves are key to decreasing litter in our public spaces. Bangor is experiencing an HIV outbreak as we speak. As of right now, the number of people who have tested positive for HIV and people who inject drugs has doubled since Maine CDC announced the Bangor cluster a few weeks ago. Aside from mitigating spread of infectious disease, syringe service programs provide naloxone distribution and other healthcare, and they employ evidence-based practices that reduce overdose deaths, minimize the spread of deadly disease, and help to keep our environment clean from litter. I know all of you know this, and I'm so grateful to have heard those sentiments echoed in your conversations earlier today. It was really made me hopeful. I hear that you support harm reduction and other programs, but some of the sentiments shared today further stigmatize people who use drugs, and particularly unhoused people who use drugs. Stigma is what's killing our residents for a number of reasons. I do not want the city of Bangor to be considered in the same sentence as places like Scott County, Indiana, which bans syringe service programs as a result. And as a result, experienced one of the worst HIV outbreaks in the country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight. My name is Karen Marsters. I live in Bangor. I've grown up in Bangor. I'm here tonight. It's the second year anniversary of the death of my daughter. She had type 1 diabetes. She was dependent on needles. She went to an exchange program, and I don't know, maybe some of you know her, I don't know, but in any case, I got a call at 5 o'clock in the home. This isn't Marsters. I said, yes. It was a police officer from Bangor. He came knocking at the door. He said, get away from the place, we can go sit. I said, oh my gosh, my dad's sitting here, let's get away from him. So what should you know? Crash my car. No, she's dead. She had exchanged needles, and somewhere, I don't know the details because I was never told, but she died that day at 5 o'clock. That was all I know. And I haven't given information since. I was assigned a special sergeant at the police department, and he never called me. I tried calling him for many days. He never called. So let's go to rid of the problem. Let's not do drug needle exchange if we don't have to. Go to the root of the problem. My daughter was an A student, 4.0 at Maine. She was a teacher. She loved her career. I can't tell you anymore, but that's all I know. Thank you.
Very sorry for your death.
Good evening. My name is Scott Party, and I haven't been up here in a while. I'm a resident of Bangor. I'm also the president of Fresh Start Recovery Residences here in Bangor. We now have 15 homes and 130 beds, and these are for people in recovery. And I'm here to talk a little bit about harm reduction. I'm speaking as an individual. I'm also the president of MAR, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the Maine Association of Recovery Residences at all. And I have to state that or they'll fire me or something, I think. I've been doing some minor research on harm reduction, both the pros and the cons, and I'm all for harm reduction, I am. But I'm going to read to you a con, and I know that may seem out of place or not where you think I should be, but I think that it applies here to a large extent, and I'm just going to read this. This came from Activism Network, and this is a con. There are unintended consequences to insufficiently funded harm reduction programs. For instance, a syringe service program that that doesn't include spaces where people can use safely in the presence of a medical professional who can respond in the event of an overdose and dispose of syringes, AKA safe consumption spaces, can put an undue burden on the community to support people who use drugs, particularly those who are unhoused. The community often becomes responsible for things like overdose prevention, syringe cleanup. We need fully funded harm reduction programs and legalized safe consumption spaces that support people who use drugs and reduce the burden on communities. And I truly believe that if it can't be funded, let's not, can I say half-ass? Let's not half-ass this. It needs to be fully funded somehow, and because otherwise we're really wasting our time. Now I'm going to wear the Fresh Start hat for a minute here. We believe there are consequences to our drug use and alcohol use, consequences. We have to take personal responsibility for our actions, and I have to do that as a recovered addict and a recovered alcoholic. Although this is hard to achieve, it is far from impossible. Until we as addicts address our substance use, nothing can be accomplished, nothing. If we want to reduce homelessness, we must address this. If the vast majority, and I know this because I heard Councillor Fish talk about being an expert, you know, after 10 years of doing this, I kind of think I have a handle on what goes on in the community, in the drug use community, and I really do. The vast majority of homelessness and incarcerated is from SUD. The need for recovery housing is increasing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Wiley, and I'm a resident of 41 Parker Street. I didn't intend to speak tonight because despite working full-time at the Resource Center at Acadia Hospital and being a social work student at the University of Maine, I know there are more people with better hands-on experience fighting the opioid crisis than myself. However, after listening to the workshop tonight, I felt my voice was necessary. I'm embarrassed at the audacity of our council to think that they know better than the professionals at the Maine CDC and the numerous nonprofits who have been diligently working to help those who are suffering from substance use and homelessness. As our representatives, you not only have the responsibility of listening to your constituents, but also to act in the best interests of all of Bangor's residents. And sometimes that means forgoing popular opinion in favor of listening to public health professionals. Your concern for the voices of those who are privileged enough to not experience substance use or homelessness over the voices and experiences of those who are literally dying is disgusting. Not only that, but the issues that your concerned constituents mention are problems that every city in the country is facing. The fear felt by the previous speakers, while tragic, is born from a lack of experience with this crisis because for a long time, Bangor managed to be sheltered from the worst effects of the opioid crisis. It's time to wake up to the fact that this is our new reality, and the only way forward is through community support and mutual aid. We will continue to have public substance use and overdose deaths, rising rates of HIV, and worsening homelessness unless we focus on evidence-based solutions like harm reduction, which means going to where the people are, and rent control and the minimization of community poverty. I think everyone here needs to be reminded that substance users are also our community members, and they deserve not only our assistance, but also our compassion and our support. You can say you believe in harm reduction until you're all blue in the face, but actions have always spoken louder than words. And I urge you to follow the direction of our friends and esteemed professionals in the CDC and nonprofits like Needlepoint Sanctuary and HEAL. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tamara Benson. I live in Orono and work in Bangor. And I would like to finish up some sentiments shared by my friends from Needlepoint Sanctuary. First, I will finish Willie's statement. The last paragraph was, we are committed to working with the city, the CDC, and with community partners to find outreach locations that provide for a balance of the varied needs within our community. I hope that we can find this common ground, and I am grateful to have had the time to speak to you all. I hope we can discuss this further in the near future. Secondly, I'm going to wrap up the sentiments shared by Representative Reyna. I know this body does not want that either, referring to an increase in HIV outbreaks in the country. I hope we can work together to ensure Bangor stays safe and healthy for everyone. Removing services from downtown is not the answer. It will not resolve the housing crisis in Bangor. I believe it is our collective responsibility to work together to find common ground so that unhoused residents are listened to and supported in the same ways businesses and housed residents are. I believe we can do that together, especially with the support of service providers who can be flexible and thoughtful about the many needs within the city. Needle Point Sanctuary has expressed willingness to be flexible and thoughtful, and I hope that the city will consider meeting with them and the Maine CDC again to resolve this issue so that we do not put more Bangor people at risk by making resources harder to obtain. I would also like to share some of my own sentiments very briefly. Based on the workshop that I listened to earlier, I also want to emphasize what Willie said earlier about the harm reduction work that is being done in those parks is good work. That is good things being done by the citizens of Bangor. And earlier, someone mentioned in the workshop that having these needle exchanges in public spaces that are visible for the public is sending the wrong message. I think it's very interesting that showing that people who use drugs are not deserving of death for their choices and their addiction, showing that they don't deserve to die, how is that sending the wrong message? That is sending the message that our community members care about our community members. And so I'm confused by how that could possibly be sending a wrong message. I will resign the rest of my time.
Hey, my name's Marilee. I live up on Newbury Street. I'm an artist and a graduate student, and I've had the honor of working with Needle Point Sanctuary for the past couple of years and seeing the direct impact that they make and the direct community difference that they make, and the compassion that they extend. I missed the workshop, but I look forward to hearing about it and watching the recording. And I would also say to the folks, the person that spoke earlier, yes, we do give them food. We do give them housing. We do give them clean equipment. And we do our best to meet people where they are, because that's what helping looks like. That's what help is. The unsavory, the chaotic, the fringe, and the outside of order is visible. What we're seeing are people hurting. When we as a community decide to bulldoze a neighborhood, to clean these places, to use language like to sweep, to make invisible what is intolerable, what we're saying is that we can't stand what ourselves we can hide. Most of us have refuge to find safety in. Most of us have walls to contain our shit. Most of us have places to put our unsavory, and we're resourced with support. And the crisis that is visible and the unsafety that's growing and is infringing on our daily rhythms is a sign to extend our compassion, not to shut our eyes, not to rely on systems that don't meet people where they are. I urge us to tread carefully, consider housing first, consider the evidence-based harm reduction, and let's check our privileges also while we're at it and while we're endeavoring to extend ourselves and meet people where they are. So, thanks.
Good evening, Sam Ketterman, former resident of Bangor, currently of Eddington. I am a business owner. I do business and work in the Bangor area. I wanted to address the City Council about requesting something be done about dangerous roads and intersections in Bangor, specifically yield signs that we have yield markings on the roads and flashing yield signs, and increased activity of law enforcement to punish people for failing to properly yield. We all know somebody that, if not ourselves, have had accidents or been involved in their accidents at these intersections. And I have a list for the council, but State Street in front of the hospital, Stillwater Avenue in front of Texas Roadhouse, the 95 on-ramp, but all the on-ramp and off-ramps. One of the most dangerous intersections being that on Alden Road, with the on-ramp, off-ramp there, but where Alden Road, I guess it's Outer Hammond where it narrows there. Also Godfrey Boulevard, Haskell Road, and as I said, all on and off exits. We have more accidents because people think they have to be Mary Andretti or Richard Petty and fail to yield. And, there's no accountability for this. I've also approached the state legislation about enacting where it would be a felony, 2 different levels of felonies, where people would fail to yield property damage being done to another vehicle or personal injuries being done to to people in the car where they failed to yield. We need to take into account that nobody wants to be involved in this, but yet we have to, take it into account. The other issue I wanted to address to the city council tonight is years ago, we had a recycling point over by the airport, and we have since removed that in favor of the so-called 0 point recycling, which doesn't really work. If we don't give people a place to take recycling, without it, being prohibitively cost-wise, we will continue to have illegal dump sites around the city, i.e. electronics, paint. The hazardous materials alone create a cleanup problem for the city, an exorbitant cost where that can be mitigated by giving our citizens and people within Penobscot County a place and location to safely dispose of these chemicals. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Suzette Furr. I'm a resident of Bangor. I'm not employed by a nonprofit. I have nothing to gain by speaking. My point is, what happened to the fine for littering? I don't understand what happened to that fine. And recently, I was watching and a city councilor praised the fact that we have to shovel our sidewalks, and there's a fee of $100, and then $250, and then $500. So I'm just wondering, what happened to the fee for littering? We hire someone full-time for the city, I believe full-time, to pick up the needles. Where's the accountability? That's all I'd like to know. Thank you.
Other people would be speaking. Good evening, my name is Doug Dunbar. I work at Wellspring, a substance use and mental health treatment provider agency, nonprofit in Bangor, but I'm not here to speak for Wellspring, but some of you may know that I work there. I live in Herman. And I said at the last meeting I spoke at that the city of Portland operates 2 city shelters with 437 beds. The city of Bangor operates 0 shelters with 0 beds. City of Portland has nonprofits, Preble Street and others that you know that offer beds in nonprofits. We have 2 shelters. There's no room in the inn. They're always full. So many of these issues come down to housing. Some of you know that I spent 30 years working in government. Doesn't matter, but I was John Baldacci's press secretary when he was in Congress or in his campaigns. As press secretary in the governor's office, I became Maine's chief deputy secretary of state, a fancy title, a boring job, and did other things in government. But lifelong mental illnesses, OCD and anxiety, spiraled out of control in 9/11. When the terrorist attacks occurred, I was working in Washington. I began self-medicating with alcohol because of stigma. I couldn't get help. I couldn't bring myself to get help. But I began drinking. And 16 years of self-medicating ended with my career being shut down when I went to jail for 4.5 months. You all should go to jail. I say this to my friends in the legislature. I have friends who are judges. You all need to go to jail because it'll open your eyes to things that I ignored for 30 years when I worked in government. Why are people in jail? They're in jail for 3 reasons. Mental illness, me. Substance use, me. Or homelessness. Some combination of those issues. And I used to think that substance use and mental illness were the most important issues. I now believe housing is. And shelter. If you don't have shelter, you can't possibly work effectively. You can, but it's really difficult to work on your mental health. If you don't have shelter, it's really difficult. And Scott knows this, to work on your substance use disorder. If you don't know where you're going to sleep at night. Last night, on Sunday nights, I go down to the New Horizons Detox Center in Hamden and open a recovery meeting. And there were 3 men there, and 2 of them were unhoused. And I said, what are you going to do when you leave? And they said, we don't know because we're going to go back to the street and we're going to start using again. Shelter makes an enormous difference. The city of Portland has 437 shelter beds that the city operates. We have 0. So when I listen to people say we're doing all we can't do any more, we don't know what to do, there are solutions. And if we don't stop the flow of people into homelessness, we'll never catch up. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah Wonderly. I'm a resident and homeowner in Bangor. Soon after moving to Maine in 2017, I filled out a volunteer application for the Health Equity Alliance, also known as HEAL. The one thing I really didn't want to do was provide staffing for their syringe services program, or SSP. I didn't want to worry about an accidental needle stick. But that's exactly what they assigned me to, and I'm so glad they did. I got to see firsthand how vitally important these programs are and how desperately they need to be expanded here in Maine. The CDC has devoted an entire page on their website, the federal CDC, to correcting misunderstandings about the effectiveness and safety of SSPs. To quote, nearly 30 years of research has shown that comprehensive SSPs are safe, effective, and cost-saving, do not increase illegal drug use or crime, and play an important role in reducing the transmission of viral hepatitis, HIV, and other infections. Research shows that new users of SSPs are 5 times more likely to enter drug treatment and about 3 times more likely to stop using drugs than those who don't use the programs. SSPs that provide naloxone also help decrease opioid overdose deaths. SSPs protect the public and first responders by facilitating the safe disposal of used needles and syringes. End quote. People who inject drugs experience much higher rates of housing insecurity. Until we as a society decide everyone deserves housing, we must meet people where they are. If that is Pierce Park and Pickering Square, then that is where outreach should happen. I'm mystified by the city's suggestion that mobile SSPs be located on private property. How would that work exactly, and who would it really serve? The city shouldn't prioritize the comfort of parties who want to disappear those who are already so severely marginalized and dehumanized. The circumstances that lead people to inject drugs are complicated and not easily addressed. However, helping to ensure people don't contract or transmit preventable diseases is really quite simple. Provide easy access to clean supplies. Preventing accidental overdose is also simple. Provide naloxone. Needlepoint Sanctuary has been providing these services for years, and their recently approved mobile SSPs should be given every support by the city. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greg LaFrancois, and I live over near the high school here in Bangor. And I'm the new president at EMMC. And I've come to a couple of meetings and wanted to introduce myself, but you draw a crowd, and I didn't want to take anyone's time to talk. But literally, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'll be at most of the meetings. And if you ever need something from the hospital, you need us to partner on something, I hope you reach out to me. Debbie, she's got my... We started our morning. We were here this morning at 7, and I guess we'll close it out. But she can certainly get in touch with me if you need a thing. I really do. I love being in Bangor, by the way, and so I want to be part of the community. So, thank you.
Barry Gall?
Yes, good evening, City Council. Am I coming through all right?
Yes, thank you.
I kind of had something else I wanted to talk about tonight, but after hearing all the issues raised by the residents, I'm going to change my focus to something else.
I'm sorry, are you a resident of Bangor?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, go ahead.
Okay. The country is facing a lot of problems, and anymore, I hear a lot of people talking about other places than our country. It's kind of concerning, the ceasefire resolutions going on all over the place. People wanting to waste city council time with that. I've heard people talking about Haiti and things, but we have so many problems going on right here in our own area, and to our own people. And I'm getting pretty tired of seeing this nation that was built for Europeans as a worldwide welfare state. And also, there's problems that we need to face. And if we can't talk about what's actually, we can't talk about symptoms. We have to talk about what's the actual disease. Like when we talk about the opioid crisis, that's a symptom. But if you look at who controlled Purdue Pharma, the Sackler family, things start getting a little bit more clear as to what the problems actually are that we face. The ADL goes around, they have a toolkit sent out probably to our council, trying to limit free speech in America. The ADL is a part of the same group as the Sackler family. Joe Biden's whole entire 85% of his cabinet is a part of the group that's a part of the ADL and the Sackler family. 96% of the media is in the hands of six core administration. The media. So my point is tonight is that we have to see to it that we do not. We're never going to fix these problems in our nations. We're just going to in our nation and in our local communities, our country. Like look what's going on in Massachusetts and all across Maine. We're getting flooded with migrants, and we have to take care of them. We have to solve their problems. So I would like to see a resolution put forward that the people that this nation was built for, the European Americans, that they are the first priority.
Last one.
Hello, my name is Isaac Cortez. I am a resident of Bangor. I am very concerned about what I've been hearing tonight from other community members. I am strongly support of harm reduction education and reduction and syringe service programs, and evidence has shown that they work. Harm reduction does not mean enabling drug use. It means meeting people where they are and providing them with compassion, resources to be safe and healthy. This is especially concerning since there has been an increase in HIV cases in Bangor. I need you to all understand how serious that is. That there is an increase in HIV cases is so serious, and that the US CDC recommends syringe service programs to help reduce transmission of infectious diseases such as HIV, hepatitis C. Syringe service programs provide HIV and hepatitis C testing, as well as sterile syringes and syringe disposal. If we reduce syringe service programs in any way, we'll continue to see an increase in HIV and other consequences to our community. Additionally, I want to let the individual know who spoke previously that the land here were for Native Americans, not for the white Europeans. And I feel like that was uncalled for.
Thank you, Steph. There's 4 others. Did you?
We don't have time for them this evening.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to the consent agenda.
Minutes of Bangor City Council regular meeting of March 11th, 2024, and Business and Economic Development Committee meetings of February 21st, 2024, and March 4th, 2024. Liquor license renewals.
Hold on just a moment. If you're leaving the room, please do so quietly so that the folks who are watching online can hear. Thank you. Go ahead.
Liquor license renewals, application for liquor license renewal, malt, wine, spirits of TB LLC, doing business as Butcher and the Baker, 84 Hammond Street. Application for liquor license renewal, malt, wine, spirits of Broadway Billiards LLC, doing business as Rack City, 1215 Broadway. 24-103 order authorizing the execution of municipal bill of sale located at 122 Cedar Falls Mobile Home Park. 24-104 order authorizing execution of a contract with B&B Paving Incorporated in the amount of $1,518,119 per year for the calendar year 2024 and 2025 paving program. 24-105 order authorizing the city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Bangor Beautiful to coordinate and allow the art installation of ground mural in the Hammond Street intersection with Central and Main Streets. 24-106 resolve acknowledging receipt of the official results of the March 5th, 2024 presidential primary election.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Make a comment, real quick comment. I just got flooded with text, so I'd like to clarify for people watching that the applause that they just heard was for Kara shutting down the comments that were racist in nature, because I just got a flood of text saying, I can't believe people were applauding those comments. So I just would like to be on the record that I believe people were applauding Kara and our city staff for cutting off the racist comments as they were happening. Okay, but people at home are saying, what's happening in there? So I would just like to make sure that that is abundantly clear to the folks at home. So I apologize for interrupting proceedings, but I felt it was important to clarify that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll take a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. A motion and a second. Seeing no doubt, the consent agenda has passage. Referrals to committee and first reading.
24-107 ordinance, amending the code to the city of Bangor by reducing restrictions on setbacks and dimensional requirements for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and clarifying the minimum structure size in accordance with LD 2003, first reading and referral to planning board April 2nd, 2024.
Thank you, City Clerk. I move ordinance 24 dash.
Wait a second.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Keep going, Brandon. Read them all.
Oh,
These are
referrals.
referrals.
I thought I was doing so good tonight.
24-108 ordinance, amending chapter 165, land development code, district map to rezone a property located at 12 Carroll Street from urban residence district 1, URD 1, to urban resident district 2, URD 2, first reading and referral to planning board on April 2nd, 2024. 24-109 ordinance, amending chapter 291, vehicles and traffic to update vehicle weight limits to coordinate with Maine DOT weight limits, first reading. 24-110 resolve, appropriating an amount not to exceed $6,500,000 from the airport unappropriated fund balance to fund construction of a passenger parking lot adjacent to Godfrey Boulevard to house additional parking spaces year-round, specifically passenger vehicle overflow during the months of November through May, first reading. Councilor Trimble.
Move these items be referred.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Items will be referred. Unfinished business.
24-091 ordinance, amending chapter 165 land development code, district map to rezone a property located on Grandview Avenue from park to open space, P&O, to multifamily and service district, M and SD. Councilor Fournier.
I am so used to saying, thank you, Madam Clerk.
I
can't say that. I'll say thank you, Acting Clerk. This ordinance will amend the land development code district map to rezone the property at map lot R41-023-A, located on Grandview Ave, from park and open space to multifamily district. The total area requested to be changed is approximately 10.5 acres. The applicant and owner of record is the city of Bangor. The area around the property consists primarily of residential and commercial uses, as well as a park and Bangor High to the north. The zoning in the multifamily service and, what is that? Service and personal service?
Shopping and personal
Shopping and
service.
personal services to the west, and low-density residential to the east, and shopping and personal service to the south. This area is within the growth boundary shown on the 2022 comprehensive plan, and the future use map in the plan shows this property in the neighborhood residential area, which consists of medium-density residential development with limited commercial and institutional uses that are complementary to the surrounding residential land uses. This item was reviewed and unanimously recommended for passage by the Planning Board at its meeting on March 19, 2024. I would just like to add, I am really proud of this group for thinking outside the box. The fact that we're rezoning this property, the city-owned property, but what we're trying to do here, and we're going to be giving some ARPA money for the development, the infrastructure to put in workforce housing. We've heard a lot about housing tonight, so I just think this is something that should stand out a little bit. And with that, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion for passage of 24-091.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Fournier. We have a motion, we have a second. Other questions or discussion on this item? I would like to add, I'm also very excited about this, something that seems on paper to be very boring, which is a zone change, which will allow us to develop a parcel of land. Our intent is to develop housing that is available to people who are at between 80 and 120% of the area median income, which is a group of folks who often would love to purchase a home, but who are priced out of the current market. By using some of our ARPA dollars to buy down the infrastructure costs, we hope to make it easier for organizations, nonprofit organizations, and others that we'll be working with to develop long-term, sustainable, safe, and affordable housing for residents of Bangor. So we have a motion, we have a second. Without seeing any doubt, the item.
We have a roll call.
Oh, it's an ordinance. Roll call. See, I was doing well tonight as well. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councillor Dean,
Yes.
Councillor Fish,
Yes.
Councillor Fournier,
Yes.
Councillor Hawes, Councillor Leonard,
Yes.
Councillor Schaefer,
Yes.
Councillor Trumbull,
Yes.
Councillor Yakobaga,
Yes.
Councillor Pelletier.
Yes,
8 vote in the way of yes, 0 no's.
thank you. With that, now I get to be delighted at saying item 24-091 has passage. Next item.
24-098, ordinance amending chapter 223, property maintenance, section 223-12, to clarify the director of community and economic development has authority to sign administrative consents agreements on behalf of the city. Councillor Schaefer.
Thank you, Clerk. I move passage of ordinance 24-098.
Second.
This ordinance amendment, if passed, would revise the city's vacant buildings ordinance to permit the Director of Community and Economic Development to sign administrative consent agreements on behalf of the city. Under the current ordinance, there's no city official designated to sign administrative consent agreements. A city official must be specifically designated in order to have authority to sign administrative consent agreements on behalf of municipalities under Maine state law. In order to make enforcement of the vacant buildings ordinance more efficient, this amendment will authorize the Director of Community and Economic Development to sign administrative consent agreements on behalf of the city to resolve violations of the vacant buildings ordinance without court involvement. In the absence of the Director of Community and Economic Development, the city solicitor and the city manager will be given this authority. The proposed amendment will also clarify that the city may enforce violations of the vacant buildings ordinance in court. This proposed amendment was unanimously recommended at the March 4th, 2024 Government Operations Committee meeting.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on this item? Roll call vote.
Counselor Dean,
Yes.
Counselor Fish,
Yes.
Counselor Fournier,
Yes.
Counselor Leonard,
Yes.
Counselor Schaefer,
Yes.
Counselor Tremble,
Yes.
Counselor Yakobaga,
Yes.
Counselor Pelletier.
Yes.
8 vote in the way of yes, 0 no's.
Item 24-098 has passage. Next item.
24-099 ordinance, amending Chapter 165 Land Development Code to reduce off-street parking minimums for residential dwellings to allow the planning board to authorize reductions in parking minimums for uses requiring a land development permit. Counselor Leonard.
Thank you, sir. I make a motion on 24-099.
Second.
This ordinance amendment would update the city's code of ordinances to reduce off-street parking minimums for residential dwellings unless otherwise specified from 1 and 1.5 spaces per dwelling unit to 1 space per dwelling unit. It would also empower the planning board to authorize a reduction in the number of required parking spaces for any project requiring a land development permit if the applicant provides a parking study or other method of demonstrating a lesser parking demand for the project. A need has been expressed in the city for this reduction as parking is often raises a barrier to affordable housing. Off-street parking minimums can disincentivize development as parking is expensive to construct and maintain, and it occupies space that could otherwise be used to place additional units. Reducing minimum parking requirements can also help address the negative impacts that excess parking has on water quality, urban heat, and sprawl. The 2022 comprehensive plan suggests that the city revise zoning regulations to remove barriers to develop for a variety of housing types, including single-room occupancy housing, tiny homes, and transitional housing. The plan also suggests reducing parking minimums generally as a way to reduce excess parking in the city. This item was reviewed and recommended for passage by the planning board at its meeting on March 9th, 2024.
18th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Leonard. We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion on this item? Roll call vote.
Counselor Dean,
Yes.
Counselor Fish,
Yes.
Counselor Fournier,
Yes.
Counselor Leonard,
Yes.
Counselor Schaefer,
Yes.
Counselor Tremble,
Yes.
Counselor Yakobaga,
Yes.
Counselor Pelletier.
Yes.
8 vote in the way of yes, 0 no's.
Item 24-099 has passage. Next item.
24-100 ordinance, amending the code to the city of Bangor by clarifying the definitions of hosted and non-hosted short-term rentals. Counselor Dean.
Thank you, Deputy Clerk. I move passage of City Ordinance 24-100.
Second.
This ordinance amendment would update the city's code of ordinances to clarify the definitions of hosted and non-hosted short-term rentals. The current definitions state that in order to qualify as a hosted short-term rental, the owner or operator must be on the premises while a rental is occupied. And a non-hosted rental is where the owner or operator is not on the premises. The updated definitions state that a hosted rental is where the property is the primary residence of the owner or operator, and a non-hosted rental is where the property is not the owner or the operator's primary residence. This change aligns with the intent of the original ordinance adopted in October of 2023. This item was reviewed and recommended for passage by the Planning Board at its meeting on March 19th, 2024.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion on this item? Counselor Schaefer.
Just as we come to the end of unfinished business, I want to point out that all 4 extremely boring items are directly related to improving housing in the city. And so you hear us going, blah, 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 say all the things, but really it's about reclaiming vacant properties, putting them back into use, allowing housing to have more people to live in them because you don't need to have 1.5 parking spaces for every unit. This one is to regulate, we did a short-term rental regulation. This is just to clarify that, to make sure that people are getting what they need. And gosh, the other one was the big rezone to allow for affordable housing. So there are 4 boring things that if you zone out and hear Charlie Brown's teacher, when we say it, it sounds boring, but it's literally the whole piece of that agenda is on housing. So I just wanted to point that out. That's all.
Thank you. When we said 2024 was our year of housing, we weren't kidding.
Yeah.
Other discussion or questions? Thank you. Last ordinance on the list, I think. Roll call vote.
Counselor Dean,
Yes.
Counselor Fish,
Yes.
Counselor Fournier,
Yes.
Counselor Leonard,
Yes.
Counselor Schaefer,
Yes.
Counselor Trimble,
Yes.
Counselor Yakubaga,
Yes.
Counselor Pelletier.
Yes.
8 vote in the way of yes, 0 no's.
Thank you. Item 24-100 has passage. New business.
24-111, order authorizing the city manager to sign permission to propose letter for development of city property in conjunction with U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. Counselor Fish.
I move passage of 24-111.
Second.
This order will authorize city manager to sign a permission to propose a letter on behalf of the city permitting a commercial developer to propose design and lease concept to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs for a new Veterans Outpatient Clinic. The Department of Veterans Affairs published an expression of interest inviting commercial developers to submit suggested sites for lease to the VA for the construction of new clinic, which must include permission from the city as the property owner to propose the development. Developers may propose any portion of the site located on the main business enterprise park described as follows. 4 parcels identified as tax map R25, lot 32, map R25, lot 31, map 001, lot 013, and map 001, lot 011. These parcels, when combined, comprise 10.22 acres, with a street frontage along Main Avenue on the west side, Venture Way on the north side, and Corporate Drive on the east side. The permission to propose a letter will give the developer permission to propose one or more of the above parcels as a suggested site and will confirm that the city would be willing to sell the parcels to the developer for the intended VA purpose. The condition of the sale will be, number 1, that the parcels remain as taxable property during the VA's entire lease term, and 2, that the city must approve any change of use. This item was reviewed and recommended unanimously for passage by the Business and Economic Development Committee on March 18, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Fish.
Just a point of clarification, I think, for the
Yes.
manager, just on that last line. It says that the parcels would be taxable during the lease term. Wouldn't it be taxable in perpetuity?
They should be, yes.
Right.
I'll make sure that, look, the city solicitor's making it.
Thank you.
Other questions or discussion? Seeing no doubt, item 24-111 has passage. Next item.
24-112, order authorizing the acceptance of the Parks and Recreational Center and Sawyer Arena feasibility study. Counselor Yakubaga.
Thank you. I move the passage of order 24-112.
Second.
Thank you. This order authorizes the acceptance of the final report of the Parks and Recreation Center Sawyer Arena feasibility study. In September of 2022, the city contracted with Berry Dunn to conduct a feasibility study to renovate or replace the Parks and Recreation Center and Sawyer Arena. The goal of the study was to determine what the community wanted in a new facility, if such facilities would be located on existing sites or a new city-owned site, the construction costs of new facilities, and how much a new facility would cost to operate. An extensive and thorough engagement process was implemented, which included community meetings, specific stakeholder group meetings, as well as meetings with various city staff. A community-wide survey was also conducted with a greater than expected response. Berry Dunn gathered this information from the engagement process and developed a multi-phase plan to develop a final report. Those phases included a market and competitive analysis, proposed site analysis, financial modeling, and drafting and preparing the final report. The draft report has been presented and reviewed at a combined City Council School Committee workshop, as well as a City Council workshop.
Thank you, Councilor Yakubaga. We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion? Councilor Trumbull.
Just a quick comment on what we're voting on and not voting on. We're voting on a report, which was very well done. It did what we asked them to do. It's a long way between accepting a report and seeing a new Parks and Rec facility. I mean, I think there's a lot of expectations already in the community that this is wonderful, and it is wonderful, but it's going to take a lot of work to get to a new facility. It's not a cheap endeavor, so I just want people to be very aware we're accepting the report, but there's a lot of work to do to see if we can get the facility built.
Thank you. Other questions or discussion? Seeing none, item 24-112 has passage. Next item.
24-113, order authorizing city manager to execute a lease agreement with Main Instrument Flight at Bangor International Airport. Councilor Schaefer.
Thank you. I move passage of order 24-113.
Second.
This order will authorize the city manager to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with Main Instrument Flight, 3 years term, 2 one-year option terms, commencing on April 1st, 2024, and continuing through March 31st, 2027. Main Instrument Flight is an FAA certified Part 141 flight school in the state of Maine. It would expand its services to operate out of BGR. Main Instrument Flight provides flight training that allows students to earn commercial pilot certificates, instrument and multi-engine ratings, and flight instructor certification. Main Instrument Flight would operate out of the BGR General Aviation Building with leased office space on the second floor. In addition, Main Flight Instrument will be leasing 2 T hangars located on the BGR ramp. This item was reviewed and recommended for passage at the Business and Economic Development Committee meeting on March 18th, 2024.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Questions or comment on this item? Seeing none, order 24-113 has passage. That brings us to the end of the regular agenda. Comments from staff? Just hand waves. All right, very good. Closing remarks, Councilor Dean?
I will just say thank you again for everyone who joined us tonight, and good night to Bangor.
Councilor Schaefer?
The storm that we had over the weekend was what used to be like a little bit of a spring surprise, and I hope that everybody is able to get cleared out. We had such nice weather like the week before, and hopefully at our next meeting it'll be a little bit less icy. Please keep your sidewalks clear. Please don't let your plow contractor plow into the sidewalks. People need to still access those to get to school and work, and have a good night.
Councilor Fournier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, the last business item, congratulations to Jose and the team at the airport for getting this company to come into town. I think that's great. And my sincere condolences to Karen. Sorry for your loss. And I'll say good night with that.
Thank you. Councilor Leonard?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, expressing their opinions and experiences. It's very vital for us as a council to hear what your perspectives are so that we can take those into our own analysis of the situation and try to come up with the best policies and decisions possible. It is concerning to me that we do have a HIV outbreak right now, and while I do understand a lot of the concerns that a lot of citizens have in this area regarding the mobile syringe site, I do want to make it very clear that preventable disease outbreaks are not only extremely important to respond to in such a professional way, but it's also important to recognize the amount of stress they put into our doctors, our nurses, our emergency rooms, and it's important to make sure that we, as a city, we choose the smarter path to making our economy work for everyone and making sure that we don't have preventable diseases that cause havoc in our community. We used to have a saying, way back in my military days, that diseases don't care if you're rich or poor. So I guess I'll end at that, but thanks for everyone coming out tonight.
Councilor Trumbull?
Good night.
Councilor Yakabaga?
Okay, I got few notes, so please bear with me. First, I want to thank everyone who came tonight and shared their views. I appreciate every single one. We might agree, we might disagree, but it's always a good sign that we hear from all of you. One thing that I always talked about, which is the need for a shelter. I always raised this on different council meetings and workshops. I totally agree with that. I totally believe that we need one. What does it take to to get one, to think of one, leadership from all of us on this council. For me, I'm always about creating a shelter because we definitely need it. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think it's not right to rely on churches for housing the unhoused. I don't think it's not gonna work on the long run, and it should not be the case. The second one, the comments, like the white supremacist guy, the comments were hilarious, laughable, and disgusting. So I couldn't help laugh when he was talking. I just thought, privilege. He felt the privilege that he can talk about this totally and deliberately ignoring the indigenous people's right to land and people who are immigrants like himself and his ancestors to come and live and thrive in this country. So and thank you, Kara, thank you, Chair Peltier, for stopping him. I also wanted to say that we are committed as a council to evidence-based practices. We might disagree on certain things, but in the end, we are committed to evidence-based practices. Also, one last note, I'm so proud of the work of our business and economic development team. I always talk about when people say we don't have enough housing. Are you listening? Are you watching? Are you following the work of this council and our team, the development team? We have created so many opportunities, housing opportunities in the last year and a half. So kudos to you guys. I mean, you have done awesome. Thank you so much. Good night.
Councillor Fish?
I want to thank everybody that came out tonight and expressed, as other councils have said, your experiences and your perspectives. We do listen and we work together and discuss those. So I'm glad to see more and more people showing up and more people sharing with us their experiences. We need to hear those. So thank you very much and good night.
Thank you. And I will say, it took me a moment with the speaker who was saying racist things to realize what he was talking about. I have my hearing aid in tonight and I'm having a little bit of an issue. Had I noticed sooner, I would have cut him off sooner. This council chamber is for everybody. We will show people dignity and respect when they come here. And we have in the past, and we will continue to cut off and interrupt speakers who choose to speak ill of our fellow citizens. On another note, I'd like to congratulate the folks from the Maine Discovery Museum and the Maine Science Festival for pulling off an extraordinary event this weekend, despite the worst snow we've had all year. On Friday, I had an opportunity to go see some of our students from the Dowdy School experiencing a chemistry lesson at the Maine Mobile Bio Lab. It was really remarkable, and what an incredible opportunity for students to get STEM education right here in Bangor and think about staying here, becoming educated here, and starting their careers here. So thank you for everyone who put blood, sweat, tears, and snow shovels into making that possible. With that, many, if you are a frequent flyer in the gallery here, you know I always say that I get excited when I see a full room. Democracy is weird and it's messy and it's the system that we have. So please continue showing up, using your voices, telling us where we're getting it wrong, help us get it right, because in the end, that's what it takes to create a Bangor that works for everybody. Thank you. We are adjourned. Good night.